Good, good, good. Dave wanted me to tell you he says hi. So
Please tell him I say hello and look forward to seeing him very soon.
yeah, thank you for taking the time for this.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, it won't be too long. Interview is usually like 15 minutes. So but I'm gonna start introduce. I'm like introduce it all, and then we'll just get into it right away. So
Okay, cool. Sounds great, buddy.
hello, my name is Evan Martins, and I'm an intern here at National Sports Media Association. And today I'm interviewing Nick Coit, sideline reporter and broadcaster for Brown University and Providence College Sports. Mr. Coit, how did you get interested in sports media?
Well, I grew up on stage. That was my talent. I figured out very quickly that that was where I definitely had a knack for things. I played sports growing up too. I played golf and I played baseball, and I loved it, but I wasn't very good. I was at the end of the bench. They still gave me a uniform, which was nice, but I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to go to the major leagues or go to the PGA Tour. And, once I figured out that my talents were, on stage in front of people, in front of a camera, I think it kind of clicked like, hey, how do I take my love for sports and my talents with communication and how do I blend them together? And working in sports broadcasting was what I came up with. And, the eureka moment was my junior year of high school when somebody gave me a microphone to call the action of a dodgeball tournament. It was right around the time the movie Dodgeball had come out.
Mhm.
So it was very popular. It was a charity event. And the next day in school, I had three teachers come up to me and say, like, hey, I know you were kind of messing around, but you were pretty good at that. Maybe you should look into doing that. And that's when the light bulb went off. And I said, yeah, maybe I should get into sports broadcasting. And it's
Gotcha.
worked out, which is nice.
Yeah. How did you? I know you said you played golf and baseball. Did you do anything with broadcasting that in high school or after you maybe into the early days of college or?
Yeah, college was where I really started to pick it up.
Mhm.
I think growing up, my parents will tell you that if I was throwing the ball around by myself in the backyard, I was probably calling the action, or if I was playing a video game, I was probably calling the action to myself. But really, I got involved when I got to Emerson College, which is just a great place, great institution. The city of Boston right in front of you, and met a lot of great people that were interested in the same thing. And, I got involved in the clubs on campus and some of the TV shows and took advantage of those opportunities. And then my internships were key in college too. That really jet set me onto the path that I've been on. I interned with the Cape Cod Baseball League, the Cotuit Kettleers, called 51 games summer before my senior year. And then I interned at Boston 25 behind the scenes there. It led to a job and my first job in the industry. And yeah, I had a lot of great mentors, great people that I learned from, and that's really what set me to where I've gotten to.
Gotcha. Well, obviously, you said you went to Emerson College and you did media there and now you still do media now. So how have you seen sports media change over the years? Obviously now with the, big use of AI, but just in general, how have you seen sports media change and how have you adapted yourself to that change?
It's changed a lot, and it is ever changing. And I think right now it might be changing faster than I've seen it in some places. When I first started out, there might have been some schools that might have had a few streams or they'd put games on this network or that website or whatever. Now it's like every Division 1, Division 2, Division 3 school has a ESPN Plus broadcast or a Flow Sports broadcast or whatever it is. Like you can't if you don't have a broadcast, people are asking why not?
Yeah.
And it leads to great opportunities, which is great, and I'm thankful for working some of the opportunities I have, particularly the last year with Brown University, with Providence College, with the University of Connecticut,
Mm.
with the NFHS network. There's just a lot of great opportunities I've gotten, and it's because everybody wants to see their games
Yeah.
on a network somewhere. So that's changed, and I think television news has obviously changed as well. And I was in TV news for 15 years, and it went from hey, the on-air product is the on-air product to hey, we've got the on-air product, but we've also got social media, and we also have to update on Twitter or X, or we also have to put something on Instagram, and oh,
Mm.
TikTok is a big thing now, and that's where people are, and oh, athletes are on here now, so you can interact with them. Like it changes, I think, by the day in that
Yeah.
industry. It's really crazy, but again, it can lead to some really great opportunities, and in some ways, it can improve things.
Yeah. I know you said you did NFHS, so you have like college, you do college, you do high school. How's that different? Because I got to do some NFHS this year actually with some Ohio. I go to school in Ohio, so being able to do that was a really cool experience. But what's that in comparison to college, and do you go about those two differently or?
I think it's a little bit maybe. I think when you go into a college arena somewhere, you've probably got stats, you've probably got things that you already know about some of the players because these, sports information folks and these college communicators are so good at putting those together that it
Yeah.
really prepares you. With high school, sometimes it's like, all right, you show up and you're like, all right, what are these two teams all about? Maybe sometimes it's just about calling the action, or
Yeah.
maybe you got to go talk to the coaches before the game or find out who the big players are, whatever it is. It's maybe a little bit more grassroots, but
Mhm.
at its core, I think it's very similar in terms of what you're broadcasting toward an audience, and what you're trying to do is, I think, make it personal. And I found that in the biggest of ways with, I've done it obviously with the college level, and I've been at Brown for a number of years, so it's really cool to interact with the alums and kids that have come through and people that have watched over the years. You really feel like you're part of that community and you're broadcasting to them. But I think at the high school level too, it can get really personal. I was on the call and really fortunate and lucky to be in the seat that I was on the call for some of the high school hockey in Rhode Island this year.
Mhm.
And obviously, a really tragic story in February. There was a shooting at a high school arena in Pawtucket,
Mhm.
and a young man lost some family members. And that young man ended up scoring a game winning goal in the state semifinals, and then the game tying goal with 30 seconds left in the state championship. And his
Wow.
team won a state title. And the story blew up. It was all over the country, but it was so cool to be able to just say, like, hey, I was there, I witnessed it, and hopefully brought something to folks with the broadcasts and the calls. It
Yeah.
was, the coach is a very good friend of mine, and it was amazing, something very different from what I've experienced in my
Yeah.
career. And but it really speaks to the personal side of what a broadcast can truly mean.
Yeah, that's because I was interviewing someone yesterday, state winner from South Carolina. It was kind of the same way. There was more. He'd been at Clemson for so long, it became personal. That was aspect of broadcasting or writing that I've really never thought of before. So that was interesting to now hear you talk about that too. But are you originally from the Northeast area?
I am, yeah, from
Okay,
Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the Pilgrims landed.
gotcha. So are you a fan of any like Brown or Providence growing up?
It's funny. I was a fan of Brown football because the head coach for a long time, Phil Estes, a legendary
Hmm.
coach at Brown,
Hmm. Yeah.
actually was my dad's best friend in college.
Oh
They
wow.
went to school at the University of New Hampshire together. So I actually, when I was a kid, we would go to some of the games, and so to be able to be a part of the broadcast now is, it's kind of surreal. It's very, and it's I see some of the alums, and I'm like, wow, you played. And actually, the head coach now, James Perry, was the quarterback back in '99, 2000 when I was a kid going to the games, and so it's still kind of surreal. I pinch
Yeah.
myself with that. But I was pleasantly, caught off guard with just how passionate, fans in the area can be for, some of the teams. And I'm really pointing toward Providence College basketball. I
Mm.
had never been a big college basketball guy. I had
Mm.
followed a little bit with like Boston College growing up.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really, I didn't have the fever. You go to Providence College, you go to a game at the Amica Mutual Pavilion, you see these fans. They are passionate, they are loyal. It is incredible. And I was caught up in it the first year, first month I got on the job. They won the Big East Championship in Madison Square
Wow.
Garden. And I'm like, what is this? It's something I'd never seen before,
Yeah.
but it really struck me. Just how, again, I think there was a personal side to it. You feel connected to it. You have feel
Hmm.
like a responsibility, to do a good job with it. And I felt that with PC. I felt that with the University of Rhode Island when their men's basketball team was, on the rise. And
Yeah.
there was this hard-shelled coach from New Jersey named Dan Hurley who happened to lead the program back to prominence, and
Yeah.
got to know him a little bit
That's
and
so
covered him, and he was incredible, still incredible.
yeah.
Obviously now a national champion, and UConn is rolling now because of him. Just amazing. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of a ton of these teams in the area,
Hmm.
but now I just it's incredible some of the experiences that I've had because I've been able to cover these teams.
Yeah. Well, going off that, you said you're a fan of Brown football. So how do you stay objective as a journalist while not letting your fan side come through?
Yeah, that's tough. Honestly, the toughest one for me is, when you work in Rhode Island, particularly, in Providence. Providence is only a half hour away from Foxborough, Massachusetts. And
Hmm.
so we cover the Patriots for our local news station on a regular basis. That was the hard thing of, okay, when you're covering the Patriots regularly, and then when you go to Boston, you cover the Red Sox, the Celtics, and the Bruins, that's when the fan side is like, okay, you need to take that fan, you need to put him aside, and you need to do your job as a journalist because
Yeah.
those are the teams that I grew up rooting for
Yeah.
and following loyally. The Red Sox were, in the midst of trying to break the curse of the Bambino, so that
Hmm.
that was, but there's also times where you turn around and you just kind of take a moment and you're like, all right, well, you did want to do this for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So you sort of so you sort of pinch yourself, and I remember doing that a little bit in 2018. I was on the field when the Red
Wow.
Sox beat the Dodgers to
Yeah.
win the World Series in LA, and it was like, okay, this is pretty darn cool. And actually, there's the picture right there. I was shooting some video on the field, and
Oh,
there's Chris
wow.
Sale celebrating with his kid, and it's like, that's when you're like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I wanted to do this for a reason, and now I'm really getting to live the dream. So,
Yeah.
it's that, and then like the Patriots have been. I got to see the second wave of the dynasty after growing up
Mm.
as a kid and seeing the rise of Tom Brady, and then all of a sudden you're covering Super Bowls year after year.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I've been very fortunate in my career for that.
Yeah, that's very cool. Um, but I know you said you obviously you had the story of the state hockey game, obviously going to Super Bowls and everything. Is there like a story that you love telling people about that just sticks out, honestly?
I mean, I could go down the list. There's a lot of them. But with this year, something I really take a lot of pride in. Obviously, I take such pride in representing the state with this honor and award, and I'm so
Hmm.
excited to come to Greensboro in June.
Yeah.
But something that we really took pride in 2025. Myself and my partner, who I worked with for over 8 years, Ian
Mhm.
Steele, who I called the best partner in the business. He's just the best. And we're great friends, obviously, but we were great
Mhm.
partners. And he and I teamed up on coverage of Bryant University men's basketball making it to the
Oh,
NCAA
oh,
tournament.
yeah.
And you want to talk about like cool stories, personal connection there. There was just a family atmosphere around that program, and
Mhm.
they went on this dominant run in March 2025 to win
Yeah.
America East and get to the NCAA tournament. And it was just really cool to watch some of these players that it was the good side of the transfer portal where you're seeing players that were at bigger programs come to a program like Bryant and dominate. Earl Timberlake was their best player. He was
Yes.
at Miami and Memphis before Bryant, and then he's
Hmm.
the player of the year in the league. He dominates the
Yeah.
league. Like I was on a big stage, national spotlight against Michigan State. Like there's so many stories like that, and that's the cool thing about that coverage is you tell the stories of all these players and these teams and how they get there. And we certainly had a front row seat to that with Bryant. And I got to give a shout out to their former head coach, now the head coach at VCU, who just had another great story in Phil Martelli Jr. beating North Carolina in the tournament. But last year he gets Bryant to the America East title, gets them to the NCAA tournament, and he was so open and willing to share his story and the team story and allow us to tell those stories that it really made for coverage that we took a lot of pride in. And I thought it was really fun, that ride, to get to Cleveland, get to the NCAA tournament, and just tell everybody what they were all about. So that was something that we you know really were proud of in 2025, and that's just one of the many great stories from over the
Yeah.
years.
That's really cool. You hurt me a little bit there with that North. I'm a big UNC fan, so that loss.
I figured that might be the case. I know, but that's, hey man, that's the kind of programs
Yeah,
that he's been running. So he's a
exactly.
coach on the rise for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, lastly, what advice would you have for someone like me, trying to get in this field? So,
Yeah, be versatile, and be persistent. It's there are a lot of different roles that you can step into going into the field now. There's a lot of different things that your generation can do that I think these places are valuing now, particularly with social media. Like,
Hmm.
Evan and your generation grew up with it. Like it
Yeah.
is, and now I think there's a huge emphasis on it. And so I think if you're versatile there, and then versatility in terms of like, hey, I can step in and do play by play for a game, but I can also do color for a game, or hand me the microphone, I'll go do sideline interviews or things
Hmm.
like that. The more versatile you are, the more opportunities that it's probably going to lead to.
Yeah.
And when you get out of school and you're looking for your first kind of opportunities, you know don't be discouraged when maybe you don't hear something, or maybe you have to reach out multiple times or something like that. Be persistent. Show them
Hmm.
you want it, because that will lead to making an impression on someone, and that'll lead to you building your network too. Even if an opportunity isn't there right away,
Hmm.
maybe something pops up, because you'll hear it from a lot of people. Networking and connections are huge. It's about who you know, and if you can build that up over time, it certainly leads to a lot of success in the career.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking your time.
Yeah, Evan, thank you. So
Yeah.
happy to be with you, and like I said, look forward to being in Greensboro in June.
Yeah. I'd love to stay connected. Obviously, I'll see you in Greensboro in the June. Do you have LinkedIn?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
I'll hit you with the connection. So I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to do this.
Thanks, Evan. Appreciate it, buddy.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.